Love it.
Yeah, man. All right, we are live. A last swig of water, real quick.
Join you.
What are you drinking this morning?
I've switched from coffee to water. I mean, I had my coffee already today, so I've been up for 3.5 hours.
So. Yeah, so I get up at 4:30. I actually could not sleep last night. I've been up since 1:30. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, we were so excited about this today, you know.
I was like, I can't sleep. But no, I am super excited and ready to get started. It is 9:30. People will start rolling in. But if you don't mind, for the people who are rolling in, we got a couple good mornings coming in. If you don't mind, anybody saying good morning, put your name next to it because the program I use, it just says Facebook user. But if you don't mind, Dave, could you tell everyone who you are, what you do, how you do it, and all that good jazz?
Yeah, Ruben, absolutely, man. Happy to. So my name is Dave Conord. I am the president of eXp Realty for North America. My primary focus is on helping the company grow. So most of my time is spent on that focus. But what's interesting about that is what makes the company grow is making sure that we're serving our agents at a high level and giving them the best tools. So it ends up being pretty all encompassing, and it's about the experience that our agents have. So that's what I get to do every day, and we make sure our agents are happy.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Obviously we're doing a pretty good job. Do you know the numbers off the top, year-to-date growth, just to kind of give some context to that growth?
Yeah, and I'm looking real quick. I'm going to pull this up because we're a publicly traded company.
Very
so
true.
I gotta be a little bit careful about what I share on this. So let me go back to where we are I'll go back to where we are on the quarter, and I've got, of course, the North American numbers.
As he looks it up, for everyone who does have a question, go ahead and drop it below. I already have I have some questions I want to ask. We got 30 minutes to get it in, so make sure you put those questions below, and then we'll make sure to ask them as well.
Awesome. And as I pulled that up, I completely lost my screen with you on it.
Hey. Oh, you don't see me at all?
Hey, there we go. All right, we're back.
What's up?
I've got like multiple screens and stuff going on here, and so it just went and it was just completely gone. So yeah, I don't have the quarter numbers, and I apologize. I've got the most up to date, like as of today and as of this month and everything. We haven't released those publicly yet. But we're closing in on 85,000 agents worldwide, right? And so about 4 years ago, we were at 10,000 agents to give people a feel for the kind of growth that we've seen. And what's really cool about that is, I've been doing this for a while, and I've been fortunate to work with a couple of other really great companies as well. And they all had office managers or team leaders and that sort of thing, corporate recruiters, a corporate recruiting staff, marketing for corporate for growth. And that sort of stuff. And so they had people planted in markets all over the place whose job it was, they were paid and bonused to just make phone calls and have meetings and recruit people. That's mostly all they did, right? And yet in our company, we have no one on staff paid to recruit. I have no one on staff paid to lead generate, find agents and do whatever, and then hold those meetings with them and recruit them. We don't do that as a company at all. And yet we're the fastest growing real estate company in the history of the industry.
I love that. And the stats speak for themselves. There's no emotion in those stats. It is pure logic. It is what it is there. If you don't mind, for everybody who's watching, can you just give us a quick background of where you come from? Some of the stuff you've achieved in the past before actually starting with eXp.
Yeah, absolutely. Like probably most people in the industry, real estate was not. I don't come from a real estate family. So real estate was not on my radar. It wasn't something I ever expected to get into. Business degree, international business, worked in international telecom, and had a lot of fun with that. But, one day what I realized was that, working for someone else was not going to build wealth for me, right? The opportunity to build wealth and was to be on the business side. And I worked for a great company with great people. And I had a good job, and for my age, I was getting an incredible paycheck. And yet, the guys that own the company were building wealth. And so I woke up one day and said, hey, nothing against them. They're taking good care of me, but I want to go do my own thing. And, I'm in my mid-20s, and I was like, hey, real estate, you make a ton of money in real estate, right? So everybody, they're driving around a Mercedes. This looks easy. So I got into sales, and I was fortunate, and was able to build a pretty good sales business. And in today's dollars, I did some calculations the other day, and I think, I look back at the properties that I sold during that time, and I sold at my peak about 120 properties a year. And in today's dollars, it's about 110 million in volume for the annual. Back then the properties were worth a little bit less.
Right.
So I built that up, and then started to get onto the brokerage side of things. Is that next opportunity? That's kind of the next process for a lot of people as they build up a business. Is how do we expand, and what are the other leverage opportunities in the industry? And so I started to get into brokerage. I started buying franchises, and I found a little known company called Keller Williams. They were very small back then. I think they were still around 10,000 agents, about the same size as when I came over to eXp.
Wow.
eXp was, and we helped launch the region over here on the East Coast, and grow the offices and grow market centers. And I had an opportunity to be a partner in those as we grew throughout the region. And then I got a chance to partner in a lot more, and I got a chance to step into a regional role with them. And so we had a good region up here. We had about 42 offices and about 7,000 agents. And then I pivoted. That company for me wasn't the right match anymore. The focus shifted a little bit. And so they went in one direction that's been great for them, but it wasn't the right fit for me. And so I went in a different direction, did some consulting, did some leadership work, did some, I love to do training and education. I love to teach agents how to approach the business and think about it like CEOs, and think about it like a business owner, and really construct a great business, build teams. So I did a lot of coaching and training, and wrote some course material, and did that for a couple of companies. And then I was introduced to Glenn Sanford. And the rest was history. I couldn't, as Jay Kinder has said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I had that eSomnia. And so I got into, I came over to this company. I actually came here first. I bought into the model. I love Glenn. My friend, Gene Frederick, had introduced the overall opportunity to me and what it could mean for realtors. And I said, this is hands down the best model for agents. It's the best place. And this is going to change the way that the industry works. And so I jumped in. I actually came over as an agent to help grow the company without a staff position. And then I was here for a couple of months when Glenn asked me to step into a leadership role.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, obviously he saw a lot in you. I got 3 questions that kind of came to me when you were talking. Number one, what was that switch for you to think, less about the active side of real estate, constantly in it, constantly, in that grind, to more of a wealth type of mindset? What happened? Was there something personally that happened for that mind switch?
So, there's a couple of things. The first and foremost was the mindset that made me get into real estate, right? And I had a great paycheck, great bonus structure, and I was just starting out in my career, right, as a young person, and was on really good, solid footing and doing what I had trained for right throughout college. And that desire to be entrepreneurial, that desire to have no lid, right, and to take advantage of the amount of opportunity that's out there was what had you kind of step off. I think it was Martin Luther King said you don't need to see the whole staircase. Sometimes you just need to see the first step, right?
Right.
And so it was like, okay, this is my step. I see no staircase, but we're going to go do this. And so going entrepreneurial, going to 100% commission, right, and then from there to go to the next step was the same mindset. It's the mindset of being entrepreneurial and saying, hey, this is a great opportunity, but at some point you can't. You can only duplicate yourself so much, right? You can hire a great team and you can have great agents on a team, but at some point your ability to lead, hits a ceiling. And so there's another level of leverage, right? And that's really where it goes into the brokerage side. And at some point in the conversation, I can talk about why it makes sense for people to skip that step now, right? But at the time, there was no opportunity to do what we do here. There wasn't a platform like eXp. And so the only way to do it was to hang your own shingle, right? Go build your own business and build that larger. And if you did well, you might have multiple locations and you might be able to expand it. But that's the mindset, the same mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset that said, hey, I think to succeed, you have to have two components. One, I mean, you have to have really thick skin, but you have to have that inner drive and desire to go build something. You have to have that entrepreneurial drive that says, I'm going to wake up and do it when it's tough. I heard something the other day where they said, I don't wake up every day and think about what I have to do and whether I want to do it or not, and how it feels today, and am I motivated today, and do I like it today? Is it like that? I take that decision out of my mindset completely, and I just get up and do it. It's what you do every day. You're going to brush your teeth. You're going to go do the work, right? You just get up and do it. You can have emotions about the other stuff, but just go up and do the work, because it's always going to be worth it.
Exactly.
Right. So that's one side. And then the other side is, I think you have to love to serve people. You have to love to help other people succeed, because, without that, a leader's only a leader if they have people following them, and people follow people who they believe can help them get where they want to go.
Right.
It's not a popularity contest. That lasts, that's a really fleeting moment. People think you're really cool, but once they come over and they realize you're not that cool and you don't care about them, and you can't help me get where I want to go, we can still be friends, but I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Even working with people, we talk about talent all the time, and talent is refusing to be capped. And if you can't offer that next step for them, that's cool, but they'll find another way. They will make sure that they're going to find another way. So that's a great point. And that was my path too, because I was a TL at KW, and my next step was actually going to be an owner, or be a part of that ownership group into KW. But now we have no boundaries now. It's a little bit easier to expand and all of that. Another question. So you were here about 4 years ago when eXp was about 10,000 agents. Now we're at that 85,000. And now, it's kind of interesting, because you were at KW around the 10,000 mark, and then obviously they grew like crazy too. What's the big difference, since you were kind of at that ground floor at the 10K mark, that you're seeing in both of those companies? You have an interesting view into that.
Yeah, I would say one of the key differences is that it took Keller Williams 10 years to get what it's taken us 4 years to do it.
Right.
And I think that duplication effect is in play. I think, KW is a great company. I'm really grateful for the time that I had there.
Same.
And just some, great people, lifelong friends. Fortunately, a lot of them are now over here with us, Gary was smart, and he built he kind of built what was at that time something cutting edge, right? And so that was great. I think there's a couple things that are really important. You have to really be able to grow, as you mentioned, that outgrowing, right? You don't want your talent to outgrow you, right? You want to constantly be able to serve your talent and take care of people and help them succeed. And so I think that when the focus becomes on how do we make the company better, how do we make the company bigger, you can say you have a mindset of pivoting and changing and restructuring and all that kind of stuff, like to keep up with the times. But if your focus becomes a shift to the market and how to make money in the market, instead of a shift on what the talent wants and needs, right? Then what you build kind of misses the mark. It can be pretty close. It can be good, but your focus always has to be on the agents. It has to be how the agents are changing, what the agents need, what your talent, what the top people need, everyone else will need. It just needs to be scalable, right? They need to be able to grow into it. And so I think one of the things that we've done really well, and we have a leadership group who are all licensed, who are all, who have all been producing agents, who have all sold, who have all been in the industry for a long time on that level, and not at our corporate team is very uncorporate, right? I mean, Glenn gets up in his t-shirt and whatever. I've been up on stage to speak in flip-flops. I'm not showing up in a suit today. I still have my, my entrepreneurial long hair going.
That's right.
So, our leadership team, we're not here to run a corporate company, right? We have been there. We've been through the ups and downs of the market. We went through the hard times, when the market really tanked after 07, right? That 08-09 time period and beyond, where things shifted drastically. And sitting there in my office with my people who are like my family, and having them be terrified, scared, sad, or what have you, even just determined to figure it out, and working with them, having them cry on my shoulder, and understanding what's happening with their family and their expenses, and to know what it really means to be an agent and what that life is like, and to understand the mentality and to be part of it, and to know what what's important, but then to never lose that connection. So no matter how big we get, right, we want to keep that connection and keep it about the agents. So we're constantly growing, pivoting, changing, adding, and that kind of stuff, but we're doing it with the agents in mind. And I think that's the biggest difference. eXp is a platform. We don't have layers. It's not a corporate company with regions and then offices and all these owners and all that other kind of stuff. They may be great people, but it's a lot to filter through. And our company is one platform. It's one platform, and the sole purpose of that platform is to serve our agents so they can be entrepreneurial and go build big businesses.
Yeah. So, and I had a friend ask me shortly after I left, which was what how do you feel? Like, what's going on? How are you going day to day without being part of this other company that you were part of? And by the way, I loved at the time. And I said, man, I feel more freedom now than I've ever felt before to express and to move into different angles that I wasn't able to do before, because if I did move in a certain direction, it was either out of culture or was it following the book. But I've really been able to explore the creativeness, you know what I'm saying, of entrepreneurship, and find new models and learn new things, and not be capped on that. And that's been amazing for me. So got another question for you. Who's a CEO you admire and learn from outside of any eXp executives? That's from one of our agents.
Oh, wow. All right. That's a great question. There's a couple of people that I have, learned from over the years. John Maxwell is, kind of easy one to go to because he's a leadership guru. But I have been actually blessed to have an opportunity to, to get to know him a little bit, to be in small group settings with him over an extended period of time, and to really, learn about leadership from his style, from his experience. One of the things that I think is really cool is finding leaders who, some leaders have their style, and they're not necessarily learning based, right? They've got their style and they say that, okay, this is the way to do it. And that is what they do. But I think a leader who also coaches and who learns from other, from other leaders, right? Then they're going to blend those leadership styles. They're going to be constantly in learning mode, right? When you coach, you get back as much as you give in those environments, right? That's when you teach. Teaching is that final step to mastery, because you're going to absorb and you're going to talk to so many people who are out there doing it and discover those things and be able to put the pieces together. So John Maxwell spends so much time with other leaders, coaching them, but also meeting with them, rubbing elbows with them, learning from them, observing what they do, so that when he speaks and he shares, it's not just, hey, this is what worked for me. It is on a really broad spectrum with very high level leadership with a lot of responsibility. This is what we've gathered. And I think it's sort of like the Think and Grow Rich version of leadership for me.
I love that answer. Awesome. Okay. Got another question for you. I'm going to try to get them in before you have to head out. Got 12 minutes. So this one came from another one of our agents. Number one asset to have in a shifting market.
Oh man. It's the old adage is still always true about your database, right? I mean, it is a numbers game. It is a numbers game. It's 100% a numbers game, and growing your database and being super creative about it. But you have to grow it. You have to cultivate it. You have to, by communicating, building relationships, make it about the relationship. A lot of people always ask, well, what do I send them? What do I, whatever? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, if you're a chef and they're into cooking, then you can send the recipe cards. But but to me, it's about the relationship and really cultivating that and constantly looking for opportunity to grow it. If you're service minded and you're focusing on how to serve your database, how do I help them? Forget selling houses. How do I help them? If you're helping them in life, right, in whatever way that you can, whatever talents you bring to the table, they're going to want to do business with you and they're going to refer you, because again, people are looking for people who can help them get where they want to go in life. Yeah. Right. And that's true on every level. You want to be around someone who maybe you're trying to be happier. Well, you want to surround yourself with people who make you happy. Right. So whatever it is, right? Who are the people that help me move forward in those areas that are important in my life? That's who I want to be with. And so it's the same, it's true for your database. But I think that's really key. And then get really good at getting business from your business. Right now in a shifting market, there are fewer transactions. But I would guarantee in your market, in everybody's market, there are more transactions than you need to hit your goals. So as long as that's always true, you can always go get the business you need to make the money you need. Don't freak out about drops and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, here at eXp, the market's down overall, an average of about 20%, and we're year over year, right? For we're going over the numbers for last month, and I can just say that we're outperforming the market, right? I can't get into specifics, but we're outperforming the market. Our agents are outperforming the market right now, and it's a tremendous thing. So the transactions are out there to get what you want. Have a great database, and then I would say the other thing to look at is most people have gotten into the business. At least 50% of the industry right now has gotten in the last 10 years.
Right.
If you've only known an improving market, you maybe didn't develop certain skills that you need in a shifting market. And so, get that information, whether it's getting coached, getting into the right training and all that kind of stuff. It's a reason why we've added so much. We've added the Level Up initiative at eXp and so much training around those skills and scripts and everything else. You maybe never had to have a very serious price reduction conversation with your client, right? And a price reduction conversation when your client's just super unreasonable because the market's been so hot and they wanted to way overprice it and see how it goes is a different discussion from when the market is falling in their area and there's now there's a higher interest rate and it's harder for people to qualify. The comps aren't going to come in as high. The appraisers aren't betting on the values being up by the time it closes anymore, so they're being more restrictive on their numbers. And so now you're really getting into the practical aspect, and you're having buyers who are coming in and going to put an offer, and suddenly they don't qualify for that anymore. So
I agree with you. I mean, I think, one of the big things we tell our people is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's one of the big things that we push within our database. We are 1000% database people. We drive in our database. We just got an investment property out of our database. So there are deals out there, but you do have to communicate with your database. And Grant Cardone says it, contacts equal contracts, right? Like you have to show up and you have to have those conversations. So we do got a few more questions. We got one that just popped up. This one basically says, because I got a question that's like this, is what was the last fear you conquered?
Ooh, that's a great one. Gosh. It's funny because I know there's been a couple things, recently that we plowed through, and none of them are coming to mind. Oh my gosh. So, I am definitely a like run into it kind of a person, right? I'm a 99D, 99I on the disc, profile and that sort of thing. So, I definitely love to drive in and go after it. So conquering fears to me is one of the things where it's why why we go maybe do long runs and that kind of stuff. Set yourself up if you want to go, do something that you can't do now, because it'll push you to be the person who can achieve it. And if there's something that you're afraid of, I forget who said it, but it said, if it can be done, it must be done.
Yeah.
Right. And so going out and going after it. So, gosh, I'm trying to think of something. There hasn't been something, too big lately, but it's all the little things that we go do, along the way. So I don't know.
Well,
something that popped in my head. I'll shout it out.
Go for it. And I'll ask another question similar, but you may have more of a broad spectrum on that one. But when I went to eXp Shareholder Summit, I believe someone said that when you start doing the things that you aren't qualified for is when you grow the most. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. All right. So what about this? What is the greatest failure that you feel has set you up for success? And that could be anywhere in life, not just the most recent.
Yeah, failures are the most important thing. When we have successes, it's great to celebrate them and everything else like that. But you don't typically go back and assess what you could have done better or differently when you succeed, right? So failures, small and large, are learning opportunities, and they always make you sharper. So it's one of those things where it just says, okay, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, right? So that's really the concept. I've had some pretty big challenges. Definitely have had some, I've had a million failures along the way. We've attempted different things with our teams to go, work in different areas. One of the biggest obstacles I'll say, to that I overcame was, I went through a pretty serious boating accident. So right after I started launching franchises and doing all that kind of stuff and building, back at KW, I was on another person's boat that hit some rocks, and it was at night, and we hit them going pretty fast. I was a passenger, and I slammed my head into the dashboard, right, the windshield, right, into the metal trim on the windshield, and crushed my head in. So I broke, got little cracks in my vertebrae in my neck, and had to learn how to walk again. I crushed my skull in. I did a life flight, and they thought I might die, and all that fun stuff. So I had to. My forehead, the bridge of my nose, my eye socket, and my cheekbone are all titanium. So a little known fact. But
I knew you were missing an eye, but I didn't realize.
Yeah. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I don't know if it's Terminator or whoever that is, but yeah, that's me. So, but I would say that when life is flying high sometimes, and everything's going really well, and then you get hit with a boat, right?
Oh man!
And everything comes to a dead standstill, and you start to wonder about It made me assess my life in a million ways. And I would say that's the most important thing about failure, is that total assessment. And for me, that was, I almost died. Okay, is my family, I was married and I had a small child at the time. So, was my family set up for the future? Had I lived the way that I want to live? Was I taking care of the relationships that are important to me in my life in the right way? Was I doing the right stuff? Was I even doing what I loved and was passionate about? When that kind of stuff can potentially get pulled away, all of a sudden everything is on the table. Everything's on the table.
Yeah.
It's one of the things when your week is really busy and you're feeling super slammed and you're really stressed, and you feel like you couldn't possibly take anything off of your schedule because you're way too important for every one of those things, right?
Yeah.
I have to be there. I have to be there. I have to do all these things, and we add up and go crazy. And then you get sick, get the flu, get whatever, get COVID or whatever it is. And suddenly you can't do any of those things. And you can't be there. And hey, the world keeps spinning even without you being there. It's amazing. And so that's kind of that mentality of assessing all the time and saying, hey, am I putting my focus on the most important things? And I think so when failure happens, it's that assessment of what could be different. And I would encourage people to put everything on the table all the time, right? Because a lot of times we want to make incremental changes, right? And we think in terms of what little things could I tweak? And so, I do this with my family, and we do this for work, and I do this with my team. A lot of times we look at it and say, okay, tear it all down, pretend it doesn't exist. If we weren't doing it already, how would we start doing it today? Because sometimes we're just band-aiding things and building onto it. And we're like this house that's been added onto, over the centuries or decades, where the stuff doesn't really all go together anymore. And it's like, man, I wouldn't build this house, right? Tear it down.
It sounds like it was a blessing. I mean, obviously terrifying at the time, and for you, your family, your loved ones. But that's a mindset that I've incorporated as well. Is like, what would happen if I pass away, and what does that look like? And that's huge, man. So thank you for sharing that. You have 2 minutes, so I'm just going to ask you a few fun questions. There are some cool questions, and maybe we can get to those. Maybe another time we'll do this. A few questions. So, what profession other than your own would be fun to attempt?
Oh man. I love, despite the boating accident, I love being out on the water. So, I would love to do something along the lines of, something that is water related. I've always said, when I retire, I want to go out and just like be a boat captain out in the Caribbean or in the Mediterranean or something like that. That to me is a great lifestyle.
Hey, you were flying the pirate flag. What is it called?
Yes. Yeah. Jolly Roger, baby.
Yeah, the Jolly Roger. You were flying that for a while. All right. Another fun question before you head out. Where is it? Oh, best song to test the new speaker system with. What do you got?
Oh, man. Man, there's so many good ones. I don't know, a little AC/DC Thunderstruck is pretty good.
You belong on a pirate ship, just rocking ACDC. You would crush it.
And another one, real quick, is the live version of Talking Heads Burning Down the House.
The live version.
It's got to be the live version. It's got to be the live version. Check it out. Turn it way up. You'll understand. Make sure your tweeters are dialed in.
It's 10 o'clock, man. I know you got to go. What last thing do you want to tell everybody before we shut this thing down?
So, hopefully this isn't overly redundant, but, what I'm encouraging people right now, we've got a changing market, and shifting, whatever, shift is kind of an overused word right now in our industry and in general.
Right.
It's changing, but you know what? The market is cyclical, number one. So the market's, this is not something that's terrifying, right? This is a cycle. This is normal. This is not what we saw if you were around in those other days. It's not the same thing.
Exactly.
It's a changing market. Right. And so change every time, just like a failure or anything else, change brings opportunity. Right. And so more millionaires and success stories are made during a down market than an up market, and so this is massive opportunity time right now. So do not bury your head in the sand. Don't be fearful. Don't act out of fear. Right. We have to look at it and find the opportunity and go after it and create that opportunity, because what you're able to build right now, as things have changed, right, and things are different, most people are still running around either in denial or trying to figure it out. So find the opportunity, dig in and go for it, because when the market picks back up and things come back, you will be catapulted farther ahead. And so it's just huge opportunity. So I just encourage people, be fearless in this. Be fearless, have fun with it, go after it, and take people with you. And just focus on serving people, and you'll thrive.
Absolutely. They say with every obstacle, there's an opportunity. Thank 100%. You so much, Dave. I appreciate it, brother. Go conquer today. I know you got some stuff to do. Thank you so much for showing up today, brother. I really appreciate it.
Ruben, always good hanging out with you, man. Look forward to coming back again.
Yes, sir. See you, man.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. Bye.